Just go ahead and get the bearded dragon. If you're not willing to wait any longer to look for a bearded dragon you'd be happy with, because all of them are just super special, and their colorations and genetics are just a bonus to their already great personalities. Alright, so that's enough about bearded dragons and how they are as animals and pets. Let me get into what your setup is going to look like for a baby. Alright guys, so once you set up your bearded dragon's cage, it's going to look something like this. This is the setup I had for Freddy when he was a baby. As you can see, you have the, this is a 29-gallon tank. The only difference between this 29-gallon and a 20 long is the height. So it may be better to even get a 20-gallon tank, but not a 29-gallon, because you'll have to, your basking spot won't have to be as high as mine to get the same basking temp. So as you can see, we have the UVB light right there. It's best to keep it inside the cage if you're going to have some sort of lid on it, because the screen lid can filter out up to 50% of the UVB created by the UVB bulb, and these bulbs already have a very low amount of UVB. It's just enough to be healthy for your bearded dragons. To give you an example, I think it was that outside in the sun is about like, I think it was nearly 800 units of UVB. In the shade, it's still like 300 units of UVB. And then one of these, a brand new one of these bulbs, only produces like 20 units of UVB. So as you can see, it's barely any UVB, but it's just enough to be healthy for your bearded dragon. So I'd suggest when the weather's warm that you take your bearded dragon outside, because even 10 minutes basking in outdoor sunlight is equivalent to basking for some 24 hours under a UVB light. So you want to make sure that's in the inside so they're getting the maximum amount of UVB they can from such a small amount in the bulb. And then we have our basking dome up here, our heat dome, with I have a 100-watt Zoom-in basking bulb in there. This is some Max Driftwood, I think it was. Max Driftwood. It was a pretty tall piece. And as you can see, it's got different levels for my bearded dragon to bask on. So if he wants to get really warm, you can go at this top part right here. And if he wants to go at a slightly cooler temperature, you can go somewhere down here. He's also got the hammock in the back there where he can go and rest and bask, which is not quite as warm as on the log, but it's still pretty warm. On the back here, he's got this kind of hut kind of cave sort of thing going on. It's also a little platform that I made out of these rocks we just found on the beach, and I boiled them and baked them to get all the different diseases on them that could have been on them killed, and then I siliconed them together to make. And then there's the cow skull that I really wanted to get because it added a really nice flare. And then there's his little water dish that I ended up removing because he didn't have any interest in it. And there's no need to increase the humidity more than you really need to. As you can see, I covered 3 of the 4 sides, only the front is open. You can just cover it with white paper, but I chose to kind of color the paper and make a just cute little kind of Australian outback sort of background. Freddy really did appreciate that, though. The funny thing was I drew this little tiny scorpion on the background, and a couple times he tried to eat that like it was a cricket. But other than that, the background didn't bother him at all. It actually helped him feel more secure. And as you can see, I used paper towel as a substrate. All I had to do is when he would go to the bathroom, I just take out all the paper towel and put down a fresh layer, and it completely removed any sort of bacteria that could have been there. So this is the sort of setup you want to have for your bearded dragon, your baby bearded dragon that is. You want to have a nice high basking spot. Baby bearded dragons especially love to climb. Because in the wild they tend to be a little bit arboreal, since they are being prey items. And being small little bearded dragons, climbing up in the trees is a lot safer than just staying on the ground all day. So baby bearded dragons do love to climb, and it's good to take advantage of that so they'll get their exercise. It's also good to take them out and let them run around in a safe room that you've cleaned up and like closed off any place that could be dangerous to them. So this is what your setup should look like. when you first get a baby bearded dragon, that isn't too old. I think Freddy was almost a month old when I bought him, maybe a month old. They are pretty tiny. As you can see, my hand is about that big, kind of. He was only 5 and I think an 1/8 inch from tip to tail. As you can see, he's a really, really tiny little baby dragon. And when they're this size, they are really fragile. You don't want to handle them excessively, but you do want to handle them so they get used to being handled. When you first get your bearded dragon, though, if you get them shipped in from, say, a breeder or a online store or something like that, they're going to be stressed for up to 2 weeks. This kind of freaked me out, even though I knew about it. I was really, really worried because Freddy would not eat very much. He wouldn't do much of anything, and he always had stress marks. It took the full 2 weeks for him to finally adjust to his habitat and to start eating more and to just be a healthier bearded dragon. So you have to keep this in mind. And while they're stressed, they are more susceptible to illnesses and disease. So you have to make sure that in the first 2 weeks that you keep your bearded dragon, that everything is extremely shipshape to make sure that nothing goes wrong. Here's just another little picture of him. He was extremely cute when we first got him. I mean, he's still cute. Freddy, you're still adorable, buddy. But he was really cute when he was a tiny little baby. I just have a couple pictures of him from when he was a baby. There is a video of all this. I'll put a link right here to the video of when I first got him. I made a video of taking him out and just opening him up. He was a really, really tiny little guy. It's actually amazing how much he grew in just a short amount of time. Aw, I miss him. He's so small. And as you can see, he already had a lot of attitude as a little baby. Right when we put him in the cage, he was doing little poses. He was being really, really cute. And for size comparison, that's how tiny he was. This skull is not that big. He is itty bitty. Like, he is the tiniest little thing you have ever seen. Let's see what else. This is him as he's exploring his cage. As you can see, he's got those stress marks going on. If you don't know, bearded dragons show stress marks on their cream underbelly, which is little either black squiggles, or on their belly it's more like black little ovals. The intensity of these marks display how stressed they are. He right here, it's not too stressed. You can get so stressed that his belly is like almost completely black. You'll see that a lot in bearded dragons at the pet store, because keeping bearded dragons in a small group, or even a large group especially, can cause a lot of stress, because there is usually 1 or 2 bearded dragons that come out on top and eat all the food and just make all the other ones miserable. So at pet stores you'll see the extremist level of stress. This is pretty moderate, it's not too bad, but he kept these marks for about 2 weeks before he finally started to calm down. This is him eating his first salad. For a size comparison, I'm pretty sure this is a 6-inch in diameter dish. So as you can see, he's really, really tiny. These leaves were ripped up into tiny little pieces too. I'm pretty sure this is the only time he ate a salad willingly. I wish I had fed him more greens when he was a baby, because now I'm having lots of issues with him eating. But I'm trying to find a way to fix it. I bought him some plants that I'm going to grow for him. This is when he got up on his basking spot with his little pudge belly there, and he was thermoregulating, which bearded dragons do when they become overly hot. They'll open up their mouths to let out some of the heat. It's usually a good sign when they thermoregulate on their own, that they've reached a good basking temperature and now they're just controlling their body temperature. You should probably be careful if your bearded dragon is over on the cool side or farthest away from the heat and he's still thermoregulating. That's usually a sign that something is wrong if he can't get his body temperature to where he wants it. This is him just lounging on his little wooden basking spot here. He was just really cute. I wanted to show you some of these. Yeah, so this is a sign of a pretty healthy bearded dragon. He's propping himself up. He's looking around. This is what he looked like when he was getting ready to sleep. for the first night. This is where he preferred to sleep when he was a baby, hanging off the side of the log. He's always been lazy like this, where he just kind of gets off to the side of the log. Light isn't really in his eyes. He can just sleep there, and then in the morning, he's already right by his basking spot. Very little work to get back up there. He still does that to this day. And so, yeah, he was just really, really cute. I showed you that one already. What are you doing? Alright, so this is what a baby setup should look like. This is what I showed you. So this will be a pretty good guide for what you want to give to your little baby dragon. So your setup should resemble this a little bit at least. Of course you can take some creative liberties, but you always want to make sure that you have your UVB on the inside of your tank. You want to make sure that your basking spot is close enough to the heat bulb, that it's getting to that temperature it needs to be, that 100 to 110 degrees Fahrenheit. This distance is okay because this is a really high wattage basking spot. You could use a lower wattage one and get closer, but you never want to get within like 6 inches of the basking, of the actual light. That could be dangerous to your bearded dragon. You don't want to get too close. And so you always want to give them plenty of little recreational activities. Just because the cage looks really crowded, you just want to make sure you utilize your space very well. Like for instance, this little platform, even though it takes up a lot of space, it also adds a lot of surface area to the tank. This is a lot of extra area that you can climb on, and it provides a little hiding spot. So whatever you put in the tank, make sure it has a use and is useful to your bearded dragon and provides them with some extra space. This utilizes the vertical space. You might want to utilize a lot of the vertical space if you have a taller cage. Or you can just add more surface area with something like this. And so you want to make sure whatever you put in is useful and is good for your bearded dragon. Sorry, Freddy's just playing peekaboo over there, and it's really cute. He's being funny. So yeah, that's mostly what I'm going to tell you about caring for your bearded dragon. If you have any specific questions, feel free to leave a comment, and I'll get back to you ASAP. The comments come right to my email, so I usually get them within 24 hours and try to reply. So if you have any questions about specifics, like you specifically, what you have in your house, if it's good enough, or if you have enough time, or anything like that. If you have questions about certain brands or certain different supplies, I'll try to answer those as well, or refer you to a website that'll help better educate you. So I hope this helped you learn more about bearded dragons and the commitment in taking care of them. If you have any questions, leave comments below. And please like and subscribe to see more videos.